I wanted to just address 5 things, if I may. One is kind of just an observation. 3 are much more strategic. So I think it's important we talk about them now because of what's coming down the pipeline at us. And the last one is just a good news item because I always like to have some kind of good news. There are far too many channels out there who are just feeding people a soothing blend of misery, because if you churn things that people already know and already think and are already feeling sad about, it's a very easy thing to spoon feed people, but I don't find it to be helpful in any way. My question to all of those people spoon feeding misery is, so what? You know, what are you doing? Where's the uplift? Where's the encouragement? How are you bringing people together? Regardless. So number 1, my observation, Farage, Clacton, his income. So the big story was that he's earning this much, 1.2 million a year. He's getting £80,000 a month, blah, 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 whatever. Big headline figures that suggest he's the highest earning MP, because if you take his private earnings plus his earnings as an MP and things that have been declared, and knowing Farage, of course, those are just the things that have been declared, it appears that he's doing very, very well. 2 things on this. One, emotional, which is this bizarre British need to pull people down when they're doing okay. This bizarre jealousy of what someone else has, this lack of celebration of someone doing well in however way they're doing it, whatever. You know, Farage will always be, number 1 in Farage's life will always be Farage. But there's always a need to pull down. Jealousy is pervasive, and this need to try and slander someone who's just out there earning and he's being rewarded by people who feel that he needs to be rewarded for what he's doing. How is that anyone else's business to be jealous of? And then there's something far more duplicitous, which is they try and put it in a rational way, which is, oh, well, how is he representing Clacton? Oh, here we are, Clacton. Average salary in Clacton is £24,000. Oh, here's Farage. Look what you voted in. Do you think he really represents you when he's on 1.2 million and you're on 25k? It's such lazy argument to try and sell in, because it's incorrect on every level. It relies on the first point we talked about, the emotional jealousy, for it to work. But on just a pure rational level, he's not employed as someone maybe who's working regularly in Clacton, is he? You know, let's say you are working in a sales yard and you're earning 24k. Well, that's not what Farage is doing. And for all people who want to criticise him, and I know those people are many, myself included, time to time, he is one of the most brilliant media players that are out there. He can play, it doesn't matter who he throws under the bus in terms of Farage. He is a brilliant, brilliant media strategist, is kind, player is the better use of, for his self-promotion, for promotion of what he wants, to amplify what he wants, to give himself most power. He is one of the top names in the UK at playing the British media. And that's what I think that money that he's accorded is awarded for, being that player. So I just wanted to make that point, because I think the lazy kind of jealous argument and then manipulating others to feel angry about Farage, I think it's really overdone. The next 3 things, and there are 5 in total, are more things that you see so that it's positioning us for what's coming down the track. And if I was working in the intelligence unit or the nudge unit, this is the groundwork stuff. So if you were looking at this as a project plan of how they implement stuff, this would be the groundwork phase, or the phase where you're preparing the ground for what's to come. And there's 3 examples of this I just briefly wanted to touch on. Number 1, Kamala. So what you're seeing pushed at you, you won't necessarily realise it's being pushed at you, is Kamala Harris. Oh, isn't she doing great? Oh, look at her poll numbers. Look at her laughing and joking and having fun. Look at all the people applauding her. Listen to all the big names supporting her. Look to that guy on stage. Look at the crowds. Look at her VP and how happy. And look how chummy they are buying their Doritos, which was totally set up in a store and is actually really humiliating because they had to shoot it twice. But anyway, you are being prepared. It's not about what you think of Kamala. It's not about the US elections in a bigger sense in that way. It's about preparing people globally to accept that Kamala Harris could win. In order to prepare you to be receiving of that idea later, they need to show you now how great she's doing and how fabulous it is and how quickly they've moved on from the Biden stuff to Kamala and here's our vice president. Isn't she so fun? It is preparation. You are being prepared. Feel yourself being dug over, turned over, lied to. You are being made ready to receive a Kamala win. And I believe this will come in combination with another number of other things. I still think Trump will win it. I still think America will also, I don't even know what's coming down the road next to there, but we'll go to that next. But either way, know that you are being dug over to be receiving of Kamala does great. Look at her. The polls, all Kamala. The only person you might as well vote for is Kamala. The second thing, the other preparation work that's going back to my little bit of arm here, later down the line, there's different phases. And you've already seen this once before with COVID. But obviously now you're being prepared for monkeypox or MPox. So you're being dug over. Let's get people ready to prepare it. So let's excite them about it. Let's give them some ideas of someone who's got it. Let's show them some pictures of terrible lumps and bumps. Let's get people talking about this. Let's get someone on who's had this and says it's terrible. Let's get, vaccine. Let's start scrubbing Wikipedia about monkeypox. Let's start removing things that it's not really very transmissible. Let's get rid of the stuff that says it can't really touch young people, that you don't really need to worry about it. Scrub all of that and start planting MPox ideas into people's heads, do the groundwork. Rebrand monkeypox to MPox because it's more pharmaceutically friendly. It's more of a hashtag. Pharmaceutical companies obviously rebranding illness or disease around what will work as a hashtag, what will work on posters. You're being prepared for monkeypox. And I swear, if you're a viewer of mine or a regular watcher or listener or follower of what I do, you'll already be aware of the scam with COVID. But there are many, many people who aren't like you, who are waiting to be prepared for the next COVID. They're excited about the next COVID. I was at a vaccine centre the other day doing an impression of the Chief Medical Officer, Chris Whitty. And you can feel it there. There were people coming and going, people coming for checkups from the pneumonia that was supposed to be COVID. There's an excitement and anticipation of the next one. Some people loved the brutalist world where no one was allowed to do anything. It suited them. It made them more powerful. Some people made a lot more money. But anyway, please know that you're also being prepared. I know many of you see this already for MPox. And I'm very hopeful that so many more people will now be aware of how much they were lied to with COVID, that they will help band together in the way that the NHS 100,000 did and push back against this that's being brought down the track. And then the final thing that is sort of at a bigger level, but I believe deliberate as well, is, and it's sort of further down the line, because if you look at the strategic play for the UK, it's divorce people from everything they used to belong to, right? So you divorce them from belonging to their flag, you stop them belonging to churches or their religion, that doesn't matter anymore. And then you get them to realise that, family, well, that doesn't, you can have 2 dads, 3 dads, 1 mum, half a mum, 2 this, 1 that, flexible families. Stop them believing in things that they used to belong to. You don't belong to a community, you don't belong to a country, you don't belong to a job full time, you don't belong to a family, even gender. You don't belong to being a girl or a boy. There's no such thing as the female club because look, this guy can be a female. Once you've eradicated people's belonging, you've already got them feeling lost. One of the most effective things you can do once you've managed to make a whole country, nation, groups of nations feel utterly lost and rudderless is take away the other things that they believed in. And in the UK, a really great example of this is the law. Now, if you're someone like me, who's been through this a decade ago, and lost everything because you thought the law had to be the law, and rationally the law would never do this because I don't need to go into the detail of what happened to me, but you take something to the High Court because you know you can't be wrong, but the law decides you are because the law's not the law. And that's exactly what's happened with the protests, the riots, the people who turned up and were antagonistic, people who were seen to be creating problems, even people who were just on the sidelines shouting and jeering, being put straight to prison. Don't pass go, don't collect 200 quid, 36 months for this, 24 months for a Facebook post, 12 months for a tweet, 56 months from looting from Lush. Jesus, you should be given a blooming badge of honour for looting from Lush, shouldn't you? I mean, who wants that crap in their home? But regardless, what's happened is, because now you can see the law is in disarray, prisons are full, they're still trying to put people into prison, so we're going to let people out of prisons early to make room for the lady who did the naughty tweet or the wrong Facebook post. And then you realise, with certain people who committed horrendous crimes getting 12-month sentence, or rapists being allowed out with no sentencing, but a lady from England getting 24 months for a Facebook post, people lose faith in the law. So people who still believed in the law's the law, they're now going, wait a minute, the law isn't the law. So if the law isn't the law, then I'm not safe. And there's a moment now where more people are realising there's a fearfulness. And I tried to go to the supermarket the other day. It took me about an hour and a half. Only needed a few things, but it took me an hour and a half because people kept asking me if it will be okay. Because if you create a lost nation, and the only things maybe can still hold on to a democracy or law or yourself, if you take away another one of them, law, so now you're vulnerable, you could be arrested, you could be put in prison, you could lose everything. People get much more fearful. And that's precisely what's also going along. So if you look at those three strategic plays, the US, because what happens in the US matters, you know, the leading democracy on the planet. Oh, Kamala's very popular. Oh, yes, she's very popular. The MPox. Oh, there could be another big pandemic coming. Watch out. You could catch this pox. This could affect you. Your family could be affected by this. And then take away people's faith in something that they used to believe in, the law. And you can see how these big themes are out there rumbling around, and you can feel when each of these land in turn and they work together, people will be persuaded to go along with the narrative of the globalists. That was all quite a lot, probably more than it needs to be in some ways. And I'm always conscious of not going too far down any particular rabbit hole, because we need to walk this line together. We need to hold the line together. And obviously no one has to agree with me, but these are big ideas, aren't they? That the MPox is being planned and you're just at being in the prepared stage before they seed you with the next thing you're supposed to do. The Kamala stuff, you're being prepared to accept that it's possible she could win. If you're in America, you'll know it's not possible. And also you're being prepared by being made afraid so that you don't go out, you don't protest, so that if they try to lock you down again, you don't protest, because if you protest, you could end up in prison. Or if you say something against MPox on Twitter, well, you see? And that's not all doom and gloom, because awareness is a strength. Awareness is a weapon. Being prepared is the most significant and powerful armour you can have, is to be prepared. And finally, I promised, point 5, some good news. And this is sort of, this puts me into the good news bit, but it's not really about me. It's that I am going to do a little mini tour in October into November. And the reason I'm doing it is because you'll know that I've always promised to be loyal to venues that had me when I was doing my first tour 3 tours ago. I want to support those businesses because it's a really hard time for any business right now, particularly small theatres. But mostly because I see a need for people to come together and feel better. And that's the consistent remarks and emails and cards and everything from the last tour. It was just such a relief for people to have a night off and to feel hopeful. So it will be a hopeful tour. That's not the point I'm making. So the Blackpool Gazette, bless them for running the article, and bless whoever put that in for me. Thank you. They did controversial. Katie Hopkins is coming to Blackpool. Controversial. And then they proceeded to go down the reasons why it was controversial, but they did very kindly include details of the show on the pier and how to get tickets and all the rest of it. But what was so amazing is that in, I don't know how many hours it was, so I don't want to misquote, but in a number of hours, it got the most comments of any Blackpool Gazette article ever. And the other amazing thing was that even people who have no desire to listen to me and have no intention of listening to me and even actually can't stand me, a number of them, or a lot of them probably, said she can, and she's running a show, people can come if they want, they don't have to if they don't want to. And a whole other bunch of people got involved to say, no, you say she's controversial, she's not. She says what she thinks, she doesn't ask anyone to agree with her, and actually, quite a lot of the time I agree with her, but I don't ask for that. But that to me is a massive, massive win, because it's a massive step forward. It's not to have people that agree with you and love you, that's not the aim, but to have people recognising they don't have to agree with you, but you still have the right to speak. And for other people to be saying, no, little lady writing this, you're not going to tell me who's controversial, because I've listened to her for myself, and yes, some stuff she comes out with I think is a bit of a load of old shit, but A, she can say it, and B, actually some of it's quite helpful. I find it quite useful. And that's happened in, just sort of two, 3 tours. So only 3 years of this last 15 years of doing this, and this is real progress. So it's a little bit self-centered to talk about that, but it's actually making a bigger point. So I hope you'll forgive me. And if you want to, I would also ask people in these times where clearly my head is, as always, well above the parapet, and that is absolutely my decision. My website is katiesarms.com. Some of you probably joined me on a Friday night for the pub, Katie's Arms. Sorry, I got waylaid checking whether my arm didn't wobble. That's fine. Insight into my brain there. Could I ask you, if you have a moment, just to go to katiesarms, ARMS.com, and you just pop your email there. Please know we'll never try and sell you anything. We'll never send you loads of emails. It's just a little email from lovely Mark once in a blue moon, and we will never ever give your details to anyone. I would eat the computer before that happens. But it's a way of us making sure we stay in touch with each other. And my sense is that's going to become increasingly important with, what we can see coming down the track at us, as we've just been talking about. So www.katiesarms.com. If you have a moment just to drop an email address, then we can make sure this family of ours, lovers, haters, everyone in between, can kind of stay in touch no matter what happens. So thank you for listening to me. I hope that was helpful. Shall I do a recap? Farage, long-term strategic things coming down that you're being prepared for. Kamala, MPox, and what's going on with prisons and law. And finally, Blackpool. That was quite good from my memory. I'll see you on the road somewhere soon.